Good morning and welcome to Utah Matters. I'm Dean Paynter. You know, Larry H. Miller, the man who built the empire that owns, among other things, this television station and this arena, became very invested in a particular slogan, one that he would live and teach to thousands of employees, and one which is prominently recited in the company standards today. It urges everyone to, quote, go about doing good until there is too much good in the world. Well, we have a long way to go before we reach that tipping point. In fact, sometimes it feels like it's all we can do to fend off the bad in the world, especially when we can't even agree on how to define it. Nevertheless, doing good for others, especially for total strangers, is at the heart of who we are as a people. It separates us from much of the repression and turmoil in the world because it informs us of the best of our very nature, our nature to want peace. A couple of months ago, a freelance television journalist here in Salt Lake decided that people would be more inclined to do good to others if they could more easily identify opportunities. She started a website called gooddeedrevolution.com where she showcases good deeds and critical needs, like this one.
Hey, your sweet daughter-in-law, Eileen, told me that you could maybe use some firewood to keep warm.
Yes.
I've got a load of firewood coming today at 3 o'clock to be delivered to you, okay? I'm trying to get you a furnace. How would that be?
Wonderful. I haven't had a furnace for 38 years.
How's your heart today?
It's grateful. I appreciate it. It's going to help me a whole lot of keeping myself and my dog warm.
That was Brandy Vega, the founder of Good Deed Revolution, and Brandy joins us now to talk about doing good and why we need to. Brandy, good to have you with us.
Thanks, Dean. It's nice to be here.
There's a whole set of questions on why we need a website to figure out how to be good people and do good deeds. But let me start with, when was your tipping point? When did you decide that this was something that you needed to do? Because you've got other things to do in your life, and you're a talented young lady. You could have done a lot of things.
Well, thank you. You know, it kind of came to me. All my life I've loved humanitarian work. I've loved doing charity and going out and having opportunities to serve, but I'm also a single parent and I have bills to pay. And so I just started thinking, what can I do to combine my two passions? My passion of broadcast journalism and my passion of humanitarian work, doing kindness for other people. And I was listening to a conference talk from one of my spiritual leaders that I admire, and he had talked about using social media for good. Well, all this time I've been involved in TV now for over 20 years, and I've done all kinds of shows. One formerly on KJZZ, I did news for a long time, I did home shows, I did lifestyle shows, car shows, but I had never done anything that I felt like really mattered. So when I heard this talk about using social media to make an impact on the world, I thought to myself, I could do that. I have talents and skills, and with my passions, I could combine a website and a platform that would do just that, to bring goodness and kindness into the world.
And now with, of course, the internet, that's a lot easier than trying to beg a television station to put your stuff on the air, isn't it?
Oh yeah, social media is just incredible. Just the opportunity you have to do a video, to get it on, and you never know who is going to see it. In fact, we found that out with our first story that we launched.
Yeah, let's talk about that. This is the fireman from Logan.
Yeah, so our very first story is Travis Peterson. He's a 35-year-old fireman from Logan, Utah. He's the assistant fire chief. He's got a 10-year-old daughter and a wife. He's been fighting fires for about 15 years, and now he's in the biggest fight of his life. And in fact, it's a fight he's going to lose. He's got terminal lung cancer. And I heard about this through some of my firefighter friends who said, our friend, our hero, is dying of cancer. His last final wish is to meet Tom Cruise and to fly in a fighter jet. He was a huge Top Gun fan.
Part of what you do is you have a video complement to this where you tell the stories. Obviously, the site is mostly about the stories. Let's take a look at what you did here.
I accepted death 20 years ago, so I just didn't know how it would come. Late summer, fall of 2014, I started noticing numbness in my right hand. Found out it was fibrosarcoma, went to the lungs, Went to lymph nodes that are around the lung tissue in that area, and that's where we stand today. I'm willing to trade 1, 2, 3 years of whatever that aggressive chemo might buy me while living in a hospital for 4, 6, 8 months of being able to do what I want, take my daughter to school, pick her up from school, go to lunch when she wants to, beat all her school things, even if it's for a shorter period of time. And we made that decision as a family. Ever since I was a little boy, I had 2 career paths that I wanted to pursue. One was to either be a fighter pilot or one was to either be a fireman. My dad's a fireman, and yeah, that's where I ended up. Well, they've set up a GoFundMe account. I believe the plan is to fly in a fighter jet. So if I get to feel what that would be like to be in a fighter jet, check, we're there. Lately I've been saying that all a guy can ask for. I've seen some really nice things done for me and some really nice stuff wrote about me. And I believe that if I can leave this world and when I come up in a conversation, have somebody go, that was a good dude. That was a good dude. I'll be happy.
So it's an interesting statement he makes that he is willing to give up possibly the 3 or 4 years that he could have extra by going through the chemotherapy for the 7 or 8 months that he will have with not being in the hospital and having access to his family. It's a touching story.
When you're forced into situations that are life and death and you have to choose quality over quantity, he chose quality of life. He wanted to be able to take his daughter to school. He wanted to be able to spend time with her and just enjoy the time he had with his wife. Well, he did want to take some chemo pills to help prolong a little bit of time with him, but not the invasive treatment. What happened with this story is just, and I don't want to cry, but I might. It's really incredible because we put this story online, and within 24 hours, Tom Cruise's agent contacted me. So we only had about 500 hits on the video in that amount of time, and I get this call from Europe from Tom Cruise's agent, and she goes, Brandy, I love your website, I love the story, I love what you're doing, and we want to support it. What can we do for you?
Wow.
And for me, that was such a dream come true. Launching this nonprofit was a dream come true, but then hearing those words, I just thought, oh my gosh, it works. Social media works. I'm able to touch the ends of the world, and here we are in Utah, reaching out to Europe and having the ability now to talk to Tom Cruise and to make this happen. We also put on a campaign, and we raised enough money to get him up in a fighter jet. So he's going to be flying in a fighter jet. And I can't tell you everything that's going to happen with Tom Cruise, but I can tell you it was good stuff. We just can't go into detail.
I imagine that a fellow like Tom Cruise may be wary of all the publicity for that, because I imagine he gets a lot of requests for that sort of thing.
When you're a big time celebrity that has a charitable heart, you get solicited a lot for kindness and good deeds.
Yeah.
And I know that he does, but I'll just say that he is a very honorable person.
Yeah.
So that was our first story, and it was so great to see it. So within 24 hours, we heard from his agent. Within about 48 hours, Glenn Beck picked it up and ran it on his website. In about 72 hours, CBS News picked it up and ran the story. And we've just had so much excitement. I've had people contact me and say, hey, I see what you're doing and I love it. How can we get involved and how can we help?
Does this surprise you?
Yes and no. I mean, in ways it kind of does, but at the same time, no. I believe in it. I believe in humanity. I believe in kindness. I believe in charity, and I think that most of us are innately good. Sometimes we just don't know how to go about doing it. And what I want to create with gooddeedrevolution.org is the goodness. Because people come to me and they say, Brandy, I see you at the homeless shelter. I see you donating time. I see you doing this, this, this. I'm afraid. I don't know how to do it. How did you find this service opportunity? And the answer is open your eyes and look around.
Let's talk about Ivy. She didn't want a jet rider to meet Tom Cruise. She just simply wanted something very simple.
Well, what's cool about what we're doing, Dean, is the fact that some of the good deeds are as simple as bringing donuts down to the hospital waiting room. Some of them are life-changing. Ivy is a 13-year-old teenager. She was abandoned by her parents about 6 years ago. Her mom and dad just said, you know what? We don't want to be parents. We don't want to deal with kids. Good luck. And dropped her off at her grandma's doorstep. And her grandma is a single woman working a decent job, but not great. And she's had to raise these kids. Well, the kids deal with abandonment issues, and poor little Ivy is bullied at school. She's in junior high, which is the hardest age, I think, for any kid. And her teeth are all messed up, and it causes her to speak with a little bit of a lisp, and she just struggles. The kids make fun of her. And I heard about her story, and I thought, we can help.
Let's take a look.
Why would they leave me? I mean, I'm their own daughter, and I was quite actually worried for Tristan. It really hurts my feelings. It's like I try my hardest to supposedly be normal. I kind of wish that I could have straighter teeth and that I could actually be more proud of my smile than I am now.
And I told her she may have to wait till she got old enough to buy her own braces, because I really, with everything going on, we couldn't afford it.
So I've talked with your grandma, and I've talked with other kids, and on behalf of Good Deed Revolution and on behalf of Dr. Garrison Kauser, an orthodontist, we're gonna get your teeth fixed.
You are? Oh my gosh, thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much, Brandy.
You're welcome.
I'm just so happy that I can get braces finally and actually have straighter teeth.
When you feel confident and you have a beautiful smile, it's been proven that it helps you get a job, right? Feel confident about yourself and achieve things, right? That you never thought that you could achieve. I think one person can make a difference, but remember that, what I'm doing, I want you to make sure that you return that favor to someone. I just think it's important.
So this is a matter of bringing some other partners into this, obviously.
Right, so we look for opportunities to serve. Where's the need? What can we do? Sometimes the stories are people contacting me saying, Brandy, can you help us with food? Can you help us with clothing? Can you help us with shelter? Whatever it might be. Sometimes they are individuals that are already out in the community that we hear about that are doing amazing and incredible things, just making the world a better place. Other times it is corporations or companies, and we want to feature them too. This particular one, we were able to get a local orthodontist involved in what we were doing, and he donated his time and services. And we also found that with a local tire company, Burt Brothers. They helped out an 83-year-old cancer patient who was up from Nevada getting treatment at the VA, and they fixed his car for free. So it's building these relationships, and we're looking for that because every single person, we can all do something.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to volunteer time, if you want to volunteer money or services, everybody has something to do, and it doesn't have to be elaborate.
I think the doctor said something, I think it was the doctor that said this, about something so small as fixing some teeth, what difference that can make for a person throughout their entire life.
Well, I know this firsthand, Dean. I grew up, part of the reason this is so important to me is I grew up poor. I grew up with a single mom who worked 3 jobs just to try to support us, and there were times we didn't have any food. There were times I didn't have warm shoes or a coat, and I didn't know where my next meal was coming from. When I was a teenager, same age as Ivy, my teeth were horrible, and I was so embarrassed about my teeth. I didn't want to smile. I didn't want to look people in the eye, and I went around a lot like this. And I got a job at 13 years old working at a motel to save up $500 so I could buy my own braces. Wow. And that changed my life. Getting braces for myself changed my life because I was able to now smile and have confidence. And then I've been able to build this journey of mine, reporting for Fox News at 20 years old, working in the media, sharing stories. And I think having that background of suffering, of not having the clothes and not having the food and not having the means has given me the empathy that I need to be able to run this organization and help other people.
Smile's been called the most powerful, most simple act a person can can do. Certainly is going to be the case with Ivy. Thank you. Brandy Vega is with Good Deed Revolution. We're going to talk more about how she serves and how this website is bringing people to do something important in their lives. And we'll be right back on Utah Matters. Welcome back to Utah Matters. We're talking about Good Deed Revolution, a site, gooddeedrevolution.org, a site for people who want to do good or should do good. That's all of us, right? Brandy Vega is the one who created that one. She's with us right here in the studio now. I want to talk a little bit, how did you meet Glenda? We featured her at the top of the program.
So Glenda's daughter-in-law contacted me and said, my mother-in-law is in need of help. Her husband just died. He's been fighting cancer. She's already buried 3 of her 5 children. She's literally freezing to death inside of her home. She has a wood-burning stove, but she's been so busy taking care of her husband that they haven't been able to go out and get wood. They don't have a furnace, and they just said, could you please get some wood to this family? Well, when I heard about that, I thought, my gosh, how sad is this? You know, sometimes we think we have it bad, but we're warm. We have food and we have clothing. So I was able to arrange a load of firewood to get delivered to her, and you would have thought that she won the lottery. I mean, she's a bus driver assistant making minimum wage. She just literally cannot afford it. And it was incredible to see her reaction.
Someone contacted your site? Is that how that happened? This brings the question up, how does a woman who has lost her husband and 3 of her 5 children and is suffering in that way, how does that get beyond the notice of people who are around, who work with her, who live next to her, any organization that she is involved with, maybe, I don't know, for church, whatever. How does that get beyond that?
That's a good question, and I often wonder that myself, because I think sometimes we get so focused on us and our needs and what we're going through, and that we fail to look outside of our own lives. And it's just so sad, because if we just take a look around and see what's going on with people or ask questions. I was in the grocery store and I heard a girl walk by who said to another friend, oh, I'm starving, I haven't eaten in 2 days. Well, I could have just walked off and not thought twice about it. But instead I thought to myself, why hasn't this girl eaten? And it took a little bit of courage to walk up to her and I said, I overheard that you haven't eaten, why is that? And turns out her brother just died. She's a foster child. She has no parents. She's 19 years old, basically living on the streets. And I was able to spend an hour talking to her, crying with her in the store, and then shop with her and buy her groceries to make sure that she could eat for a while.
We're going to go to a story that you've done on Leslie. And this particular feature spawns a question that I have for you that I'm sure you've been asked before.
Right.
And I think all of us think about probably. You want to set this up?
Yeah, you know what, this is a heartbreaking story. It's hard to even fathom it. Again, I was contacted. Once you start doing stuff like this, people get your name and number and they call you. She asked for food and for shoes. That's what I knew when I contacted her, and she had a tragic story. Take a listen.
911, what's the address of the emergency?
Police in Davis County are investigating a homicide after a 31-year-old man was found dead in a home in Sunset. The suspect is now in police custody.
On September 15th, my daughter's dad was murdered by my son's dad. My kids lost everything, and I lost the most important people in my life. And you know, we're broke as a family, and we lost our apartment after that because it happened there. It's just a struggle, trying to find that happy balance. It's hard. My kids should be able to be kids. You know, they should be not worried about things. And my little boy, every night, it's, Mom, are you okay? You can talk to me, it's okay. And I hate that.
Hi, how are you? Good, how are you? Good. I brought you some stuff. Can we come in?
Obviously, extremely tragic and tumultuous situation here. Her boyfriend murders boyfriend, and the father of her youngest child murders the father of her oldest child.
Yeah, so now she's in a position where she has no fathers in the picture. One is dead and one is behind bars.
Prison. A lot of people will look at that situation. She's now
she's
9 months pregnant,
she's
8 months
due
pregnant, I
any
guess
day.
9 months.
She's due in about
Yeah.
2 weeks.
And people would look at that and say, this woman has made some really bad choices, very probably. And she's sort of getting what she deserves here in terms of her choices. A lot of people might ask that.
Nobody deserves to go through that. Nobody deserves that. And you know, it's one of those things, yeah. I don't know the history of everybody. It's not my job to judge them. It's my job to love them, to help them, to give them hope. And I believe that everybody deserves a second chance. And sometimes just somebody knowing that somebody else cared enough about them is all they need to change. It's all they need to have hope, to find it, and to move forward. And I believe Leslie is a good lady. She's had a hard life. And when you're dealing with people who come from unfortunate situations, who are raised in poverty, who are raised and don't quite understand the options that are available. But at the same time, that's not my job. That's none of our jobs to judge them. It's our job to say, can I help them? Yes.
And of course, the children. You don't want to continue a situation, perpetuate a situation that has been difficult in their lives as well.
And you have the ability, each one of us does, we have the ability to change lives. I honestly believe our slogan with gooddeedrevolution.org is to uplift, inspire, and motivate others. We are changing the world one good deed at a time, because even though people say you can't do everything for everyone, that's true, but you can always do something for someone. And it's the starfish story. Yeah, you can't save all the starfish, but guess what? You saved that one, and that means the world. So whether it's Leslie, whether it's Glenda, whether it's Ivy, whether it's the veterans that we worked with, whether it's the fireman or his family that reaches out and says, you know what? The community loved my dad so much, and they were willing to do this for them. I'm going to make a difference.
I want to talk to you about the role of people versus government in this. The government does a lot of things. It spends a lot of money helping people in situations like we've discussed here. Why not leave it to government?
Because it's not the government's job. I mean, it's all of our jobs as decent human beings to reach out to one another. The government can only do so much. And part of the problem I find is half the people don't even know how to use the resources that are available, which is why I'm hoping to host the world's first ever Kindness Expo in August of this year, because then we can find out all the resources. So if you have an elderly person, a veteran, if you find yourself paralyzed now, you don't know what resources are out there and what nonprofits or government agencies can assist you. I want to put all of us together in one place at the Southtown Expo and say, here's everything that is available to you. By the way, if you're out there wondering, how can I get involved in the community and how can I make a difference? Now you can find a place to donate time, to volunteer your services and see what's going on and make a difference in the world, because so many people talk about it, and the only thing that they're running is their mouth. They're not moving their feet. And unless we stop running our mouths and start moving our feet, nothing gets done.
Obviously, you're heavily involved in the features that we've seen. I assume that you want to be completely backed out of this and have all these connections made without necessarily your help.
I want to see everybody in their own community coming together and doing this. I want to hear the stories. Part of what we're doing on gooddeedrevolution.org on the website is we're going to be putting a classified section where wherever you are globally, you can put in a need or a deed happening in your area, an event going on. I want to combine people and bring them together. You can also share your story, whether you're the giver or the receiver of kindness, you can share it, because our whole entire goal is to just keep motivating and uplifting one another to say, they did that, I never even thought about it. I was doing things at the homeless shelter, like even I just got a bunch of Valentines. You bring those down and you give them to people and they see your interaction, and people have messaged me and said, I was always afraid to talk to those people. But once I saw what you were doing, and even taking my daughters, 9 and 13 out, now I have confidence. And there were so many people over Christmas that did it, and it felt so good to me, because that is my dream, is to have it spread. The more light we shine, the brighter the world gets.
We have a few minutes left. When we come back, we want to introduce you to someone that Brandy is connected with, who's trying to help people through a matter that's very prominent in the news right now. We'll be right back. We have just a few moments left on Utah Matters today. We'd like to introduce Randy. Randy is involved in someone you've connected with to help people who are suffering from brain injuries and very prominent CTE stories in the news these days.
Yeah, we connected with Randy, and he's founded a foundation called the Heads Up Help. and he's helping athletes. Again, what we're doing with Good Deed Revolution is we're featuring individuals, companies, and people making a difference. And he's making a huge difference. Do you want to share your story?
One thing, as a victim and being injured myself, I realized quickly that there's a stereotype and that CTE is causing this huge problem of stereotyping individuals that still have a lot left to give. And so yes, we have a medical problem, but in the last several months to several weeks in itself, we've discovered that there are other causes beyond CTE that have a total picture to this. So we're creating CTE as a weapon, and when we can come in there and compel parties to help.
Yeah.
And so I know when we have the time to visit, you'll see that we really have families that need help with this, and fathers that are being removed, and suicides that shouldn't occur.
And people aren't getting the help that they could naturally get if this wasn't
Absolutely.
if it wasn't stigmatized. in that
Yes,
way,
sir.
yeah.
Well, and when you have firsthand experience in it, and it's something that you're passionate about. He took over 16,000 hits to the head while playing football.
Yeah.
He suffered throughout his life with the ramifications of doing that, and now he has the ability to reach out and to help other people dealing with it. And it's not just athletes. We're talking about veterans or other people who have experienced the same sort of thing. And being able to touch their lives and give them hope and courage can save lives.
Absolutely. And you know, I've been called atypical, a lot of a little, and a whole lot of nothing. And so that confused doctors. And so what we've been able to compile is supposedly one of the few, if the only one in the country, that has over 250 pages of medical documentation from the top doctors in our country, neurologists and so forth, and even data beyond the NFL that has a case that really shows that we have an issue that's being created that can quickly be eliminated and help the suffering.
We should say, first of all, he's a person that you've connected with
Right.
for your site to help people connect with. And also, we're going to have Randy back on to talk about this whole issue of CTE in a few weeks. When you're back in town, you've started up a foundation. So we'll look forward to seeing you then. Randy, thank you for joining us. Brandy Vega, gooddeedrevolution.org. Brandy and Randy, thank you so much for being with
Thank
us,
you.
and best of luck to you. We'll see you later, Randy.
Yes, sir.
And thank you for joining us on Utah Matters. See you next week.